All right, welcome. Thank you all for coming. We're all very excited. I'm Mark Parsons. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters. I'll be your MC tonight, and we will be talking about some exciting election changes for the City of Boulder's upcoming election, with special presentations from both the city clerk and the county clerk, and then a fun exercise at the end that I think you all will enjoy, where we'll actually go through a mock election so you can really see how this all works. Before I get started, I'd like to give Rosabelle Rice a chance to describe how the Spanish interpretation will work. However you want to do it.
Bueno, vamos a tener interpretación al español hoy noche. Para los que desean, vamos a hacerlo por medio de un canal WhatsApp, ya que la interpretación está exactamente en la misma frecuencia que el sonido que tenemos hoy noche. Pero pues díganos y ahorita vayan a la mesa de atrás y ahorita les organizamos la interpretación. Gracias.
Gracias. Okay, I'd like to start by acknowledging and respecting that these beautiful lands that we're meeting on are the traditional and unceded lands of the Cheyenne and Arapaho peoples. And critically, we are discussing the governance of these lands at this meeting. And so, of course, we work within our current political systems, but we recognize that the Cheyenne and Arapaho have respected and managed these lands well for a very long time. We should be grateful and respectful and learn from their experience and wisdom. Niaish. Oh. That's thank you in Cheyenne and Arapaho. So here's our basic agenda. As I said, I'm Mark Parsons. I'm a member of the League. I'm providing the introduction. Then we will hear from the Boulder City Clerk, Elesha Johnson, and the Boulder County Clerk, Molly Fitzpatrick, on the changes that are happening for this election, and in particular, how ranked choice voting, or as the League prefers to call it, instant runoff voting, will work for this election. And then, as I mentioned, we'll have this fun mock election that Celeste Landry will lead at the end, and I think that'll be really helpful for you to understand actually how the election process and the tabulation works. Some logistics. I don't actually know where the restrooms are. Can someone say where they're out the door to the left and to the right. Very, very accessible bathrooms. Men's, women's. Hopefully you all have signed in as you came in, and hopefully you all got a blue ballot. Oops, because we will use this for our mock election. Also, I'd like to point out the information table over here. Lots of cool information from the League on voting methods, other issues that we're supporting, and then also information from the clerks on the voter registration process, services they provide, etc. A note on the Q&A process. Both of the clerks will be taking questions. I think we'll save questions to the end of both of their presentations. But if you have a question at any time, just raise your hand. And Molly, right there in the back, Holly, excuse me, will run around and they'll give you an index card to write your question down. We found that works better to just sort of organize the questions, make sure that everything gets addressed. So if you have a question at any point, raise your hand, get an index card, write it down. This event will be recorded. We are not broadcasting live. This is not a hybrid event, but the recording will be available after the fact on the League's website. So who is the League? So the League of Women Voters has been around for more than 100 years. It's critical to recognize that it is not for women only. It is for all genders, people of all stripes, races, creeds, religions, what have you. We want to be inclusive because we're all about democracy. And we work to empower democracy and empower voters. We're a political organization because we're advocating for democracy, but we are not partisan. We never endorse candidates or any particular parties, but we will occasionally take a stand on a ballot issue, but only after a careful, deliberative, and consensus-based process. I also just want to point out vote411.org, super useful resource, gives you information on everything that's happening for the current upcoming election, bios on the candidates, information about the ballot issues, and also information on things like how to register and get involved. So check that out. Point of clarification. This is an event hosted by the League, but we're hearing from two political officers. I'm even not sure that's the right term, but the Boulder City and County clerks run our elections according to the rules laid out by the city and state. They are neutral in all things. They do not have a position on candidates. They do not have a position on ballot issues. They do not have a position on the voting method itself. Their job is to make sure that they follow the rules and that your vote is heard. The League, on the other hand, is an educational advocacy group who we want the voters to cast informed ballots. But we may use phrases like better methods and things like that because we do advocate for ways that we think would improve democracy. So that's just a subtle but important distinction in the roles of the presenters here today. But both of us, both the clerks and the League, want you to cast a valid vote. And we also remain neutral on which candidate or candidates you actually vote for. A little bit more background on the League and particularly the voting methods team, which was established a little over a decade ago. A voting method is what your ballot looks like, how you record your choice, how you express your desires. But it's also how we count the ballots. And we'll hear a lot more about that from the clerks in terms of, in a ranked choice situation, it's not just a simple tallying of the most number of votes. So as I mentioned, in this year's election, we will have two different voting methods. For the mayor, we will have this ranking approach, which we will explain in more detail. But in the council, will be a plurality approach where just most number of votes wins, and you will vote for up to 4 candidates, and 4 and maybe 5 candidates will win depending on how the mayoral election plays out. This will all be explained. And again, information table is your resource. We've got some great information there to help you out. I mentioned that the League sometimes takes a position on particular issues after a deliberative process. And so the League has a position on voting methods. And the basic message of that position is that we support alternatives to classic plurality voting that allow voters to express themselves more effectively and encourage honest rather than tactical voting, so you can vote for who you really support rather than the lesser of two evils. As just one example, while also considering the ease of implementation. The different methods can be more complicated than others. And also to note that some methods are more appropriate for single winner elections, like an executive position like mayor or governor, whereas other methods are more appropriate for multi-winner positions like our city council. The League of Women Voters Boulder County, particularly the voting methods team, is really hepped up about proportional representation. That's something that we really want to urge. We're not talking about that here tonight, but if you would like to learn more, talk to me or Celeste or any of the League members to find out more. We think that's a really critical issue. We've also been doing some outreach, both in Broomfield and Boulder, since they're both looking at these ranked choice approaches. And again, we note this is the instant runoff form of ranked choice voting, and we're advocating for proportional representation, as I mentioned. We also worked with the state legislature to get a law passed that basically says that county clerks have to accommodate instant runoff elections if the cities want to do that. So that's something that we've been working on. And again, check out the information table, lots of good stuff there, particularly what is RCV. So here's our agenda. We're getting into the meat of the meeting. I would like to start by introducing Elesha Johnson. Elesha Johnson is the Boulder City Clerk, a role she's had since 2020. Elesha has lived in Colorado since 2013, and Elesha has extensive professional experience in records management and related fields at both the local and federal level. She's worked for several federal agencies and several local governments in New Jersey before coming to Boulder to help us do it here in Boulder. So I will turn it over to Elesha at this point. Elesha.
Okay, perfect. Oh, wow, that was such a gracious introduction. Good evening, everybody. It's a good-looking crowd. Thank you all for joining us tonight. As noted, I am Elesha Johnson. I am your city clerk for the City of Boulder, and again, thank you for coming. Let me put some things down here. All right, what we want to talk about tonight is the 2023 election changes that you as the voters should know. And again, this is in collaboration with the League of Women Voters of Boulder County, so thank you again for having me. I so appreciate it. Okay. Gotcha. See? All the clickers are different. Okay, great. First topic I want to just touch on real quick are the changes. And again, we want to cover the changes that will be affecting the city's elections in 2023 and years to come. So the first thing I want to go over real quick is the fact that you did elect last year in 2022 at your election to convert your odd number of year elections to even year elections. Now, starting in 2026, the city will transition to even year elections for all its municipal election races. So approved, again, by the electors in the 2022 election, and overwhelmingly approved, for a matter of fact. So in order for us to transition to even year elections, the 2023 election, the terms will be a little different than they normally are. Normally, the mayor has a 2-year term and council has a 4-year term. Starting with this election, the term length for both the mayor and the city council members will be the same, and that'll be 3 years. Now, the mayor's term will be 2 years after 2026. That's when we actually start getting back to the regular term schedule. And candidates elected in 2025 will still have the 2023 term because those are the sitting candidates now, and they will be re-elected or their positions will be open. We'll see what happens in 2025. So in order for them to transition to the even year elections, their terms will be 3 years. Oops, here I go with this clicker again. All right, so this is just a quick graph, and I do have copies of this graph over on the information table that just basically explains how that will work. You'll notice in the 2023 column, we have the mayor's term that'll go for 3 years, and then we'll have another mayoral election in 2026, and he'll have 2 years. And you'll also see the sitting council members will be elected in 2025, and then they will go back, 2026, and they will go back to the 4-year terms. And again, there is copies of this slide located on the table. Next, we'll go to our wonderful, wonderful topic of ranked choice voting, as we've seen it referenced here, instant runoff. So again, the 2023 election, the city will conduct its very first election of its mayor and also its very first ranked choice voting election. Council candidates will not be elected through ranked choice. So make sure when you look at your ballot, you'll see the clear instructions on how to rank your mayoral candidates, and then below that, you'll see the city council candidates and how many seats you are to pick. Now, ranked choice voting is used when there are 3 or more candidates. If there was only 2 mayoral candidates, we would not be using ranked choice. And candidates may only run for mayor or council, not both. But it is, like we noted, there is a sitting council member that is also running for mayor. So right now we have 4 mayoral certified candidates and 10 certified council candidates. You'll see their names there and their names as they are appearing on your ballots in that same order. Now, our next thing we want to touch base on is the 2022 Charter Amendment. And then that was referenced by Ordinance 8540, and it did pass. And what it actually reflects is the terms of office, election, and recall. Now, that's Section 5 of the city's charter. Now, with that, we did note, or we did hear, that you could possibly be electing a 5th council member. Now, keep in mind, you won't be picking a 5th council member. Your ballot will only indicate that you are allowed to vote for 4 people. And the reason that this particular section is a little confusing, it reads, a person may be a candidate for only one office at any election. A council member whose term is not ending the November of the election may run for mayor without resigning their council seat. Such council members shall not be required to resign as a council member unless they win the election to the office of mayor. If a council member whose term is not ending the November of the election wins the election for the office of mayor, then the council candidate receiving the 5th highest number of votes in that same election shall complete that council member's term. So in other words, if Councilmember Spear does get elected as mayor, whoever is the 5th person with the highest number of votes for this election will take her seat for that remaining term. Okay? I'm sure there'll be questions about that. So just this slide is just for you to be able to contact me or my elections administrator at the city clerk's office. It gives our email address and our direct phone numbers in case you have any questions. And I think we are going to hold the questions for later on, if that is correct.
Hello? Yeah. So yeah, we'll hold questions to the very end, but again, if you have questions, raise your hand. We'll give you a card. And I was remiss, I forgot to thank our sponsor, Premier Credit Union. Kudos to Premier Credit Union, and I believe Jeffrey Cash is in the audience. Maybe not, but anyway, thanks very much to them, and thanks, of course, to the Boulder JCC for hosting us. And if you want to go ahead and introduce Molly.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You want to go ahead and introduce Molly?
Yes, I wanted to make sure everyone was finished. All right. I have the wonderful, and I say blessed honor, to introduce our next speaker. She is my esteemed counterpart in the county side of things. I've worked with Molly and her team for the past 3 years as your city clerk, and I do have to say I honor and appreciate the work that she has to do. I get to coordinate to run an election, but she is so amazing that she gets to run multiple elections for various cities and also the county. Now, she was elected back in 2018 and just re-elected in 2022, so she must love her job because she keeps coming back, right? And one thing I do admire about Molly is that she's had a strong career in voter education, voter rights, and voter engagement, which to me is very important, being in that position, in our positions as well. So I do appreciate the fact that she has helped me engage Broomfield County to help facilitate the engagement and the communication out to our voters, and she has just been an amazing partner in that particular area as well. She has leveraged partnerships just for our benefit as City of Boulder and Boulder County residents with Homeland Security to make sure our elections have been, held securely and not being able to be, altered or changed in any way. She also has worked very closely with the Secretary of State to make sure the rules governing ranked choice voting has been, conducive to what our needs are. And she also has worked with the Center for Election Innovation and Research. Now, I do want to say this is Molly's 8th election that she'll be overseeing, and I do say again that I appreciate her partnership, her knowledge, her approach to the job, and with all due respect, I'm going to stop talking now and let Molly take the reins. But thank you so very much.
Let's see, okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Molly Fitzpatrick. I'm the Boulder County Clerk and Recorder. And I first want to start by thanking Elesha for that wonderful introduction. It has been a true undertaking to implement ranked choice voting. It is no understatement to say that implementing ranked choice voting touches everything that we do in the elections world, and so having that really wonderful relationship and collaboration with the City of Boulder has been really helpful and instrumental, so big thank you to Elesha and her team. And I also want to acknowledge my two coworkers in the room, Rakala Wozniak, our communications manager, and Diane Malone, our project manager for ranked choice voting. These two folks have done a tremendous job this year in figuring out how we are going to communicate this change to the City of Boulder residents, and also how we actually get this thing done, because again, this touches everything that we do in elections. And we also have a full-time staff of about 14 people, and every single one of them has worked very, very hard this year and last year to figure out how to implement this election in the most secure, accessible, transparent way possible. And so I really want to thank them for their work this year and in the last couple years leading up to this. Okay, so what are we going to be talking about tonight? We're going to be doing a high-level overview of Boulder County elections and voters, ranked choice voting, and we'll cover all of these topics, and then open it up for Q&A. So as all of you know, we are in the full swing of the election. We conduct elections according to Title I and election rules, so I really appreciate the emphasis that Mark put on. We did not have a role in advocating for this reform. I did not personally, the office didn't, and so we are implementing this election according to what voters passed in 2020 and the subsequent rule changes and law changes. At a high level, what we're looking at this year, some key dates, believe it or not, military and overseas voters will start receiving their ballots this week. And so we will start that work on September 23rd. And then on October 10th, we will kick off our pre-election testing of ballots and equipment, also known as the logic and accuracy test. And what that test does is it ensures that the election is programmed accurately. It ensures that our tabulation system is tabulating properly, and that our voting system is counting ballots as it should. And so that is a test that is open to the public. It typically takes 1 to 2 days. We're giving it 3 days just in case it takes a little bit longer to do ranked choice voting. But that's a great opportunity to come in and actually see the ranked choice voting ballots, how they're tabulated. And so we invite you all to come to those events. And we would love to have you RSVP so we can plan for space. We mail ballots on October 16th, so you'll start receiving your ballots in the mail around shortly after that. And I do want to highlight Vote Early Day on October 26th. We will have a couple of different events in the community, but one thing that I wanted to make sure that this room knows about is we are partnering with the Emergency Family Assistance Association to do a food drive in our offices. So when you get your ballot, feel free to drop it off at any drop box in Boulder County, but if you want to drop it off at our main office in Boulder or Longmont and Lafayette, we will be accepting donations to provide for the Emergency Family Assistance Association. So feel free to drop off your ballot and drop off a couple of canned goods for an organization that does great work in providing resources for financially insecure individuals in our county. And our vote centers open on October 30th, and then as you all know, we have 3 elections next year. Pres primary March 5th, statewide primary June 25th, and then the general election in November. So this might be a humbling slide for some of us who live in the City of Boulder. Longmont is has officially surpassed us in registered voters for the county. That happened last spring. And so nothing else needs to be said about that. Congrats, Longmont. Voter turnout, general and coordinated elections. So as all of us know, we have the highest turnout in the presidential and midterm elections. That does tend to dip in the coordinated and odd year elections. So, we always say, we want high turnout in these elections, and the more that we can do to just what this room is already doing, reaching out to your networks, encouraging them to check their voter registration, making sure that it's accurate and updated so they get that ballot in the mail would be excellent. Okay, so now to the meaty part of our agenda, ranked choice voting overview. So a bit of a history and timeline, which Elesha did a fabulous job covering. Big picture, in 2020, 2 major changes happened that were initiated by the voters again. Voters are now going to elect the mayor, not the city council electing the mayor. And then 2, they directed to start doing that via ranked choice voting, also known as instant runoff voting for single winner contests. Ranked choice voting is that umbrella term for this kind of method of voting and or for multi-winner contest. And so that ballot measure, I think Elesha mentioned, it passed with over 78%. So once that passed in 2020, we got to work with pretty quickly at the Colorado legislature. Again, didn't advocate for the change, but we wanted to make sure that the change was going to work in a way that held the same level of integrity and standards and burden in terms of who does what work as our other kind of standard elections. And so we worked on a bill at the Colorado legislature to start setting out some timelines for who governs, for how the voting system certification timeline needed to work, how rules were going to be created, by when, that sort of thing. So that's something that we worked very closely on. And then in 2023, we have since provided feedback on proposed election rules and ensuring that this is going to work for the City of Boulder. As Elesha mentioned, we did have a partner with us for a little bit that we thought was going to do ranked choice voting in Broomfield, but we are now the only city doing and county doing ranked choice voting this year in 2023. Okay, so again, this change has impacted every single thing that we do in elections, and I'll go through these things one by one, but again, just want to acknowledge that a lot of the things that you'll be hearing about in this presentation, you'll also have the opportunity to actually come see in person in different venues, and you'll be seeing things in the mail. Your ballots will obviously have this contest on it. We upgraded our voting system earlier this summer to ensure that we have the ranked choice voting software installed, tested, and we are ready to go. We're still figuring out a couple of things that I'll speak to later, but we are prepared to implement this change for this year's election. So, ranked choice voting overview in terms of communication, we have cast a really wide net, and we're working to reach voters in a variety of venues with a variety of partners. So again, it's doing presentations like this and partnerships with the City of Boulder to make sure that our messages are complementary and in alignment with each other as to not confuse voters, because there are different ways to refer to some of these things, such as IRV or RCV, and so how do we ensure that we're all on the same page with how we're talking about messaging and best practices. We are fortunate, again, we've had staff that have done extensive work over the last 2 years to reach out to other jurisdictions across the country that have done these kinds of changes, and organizations that know what the best practices are. So we've taken all of that into account to inform how we're going to actually implement this change. So some of the variety of channels we've used: websites, newsletter, postcard mailing, social media, emails, video. The City of Boulder has an online ballot as well. And just so you all know, when you get your ballot, if you are a City of Boulder voter, you will receive a special insert in with that ballot that gives detailed instructions. Okay, how to mark your ballot. So this contest will appear on all and only City of Boulder ballots. And the other municipal contests, meaning City Council, will still appear there. It'll just be a separate contest. And when you open that ballot, it'll have the contest, it'll have instructions immediately above it. So we're really encouraging people, use those instructions on the actual ballot. And really, this is going to be a great tool for voters as well. So do not lose this. This is a great tool, and if you need another copy or want additional copies for whatever reason, we're happy to provide those. Okay, how to mark your ballot. So it sounds pretty self-explanatory when you read it, but this is essentially how you mark the ballot. In the first column, vote for your first choice. Second column, second choice, so on and so forth. You do not have to rank everyone if you do not wish to. You can rank only the candidates that you want to rank for that for this contest. And I don't know if you guys have this handy, but this is probably the best tool. This can get kind of hard to conceptualize when I'm saying it verbally. So again, that insert's going to be everyone's best friend for filling this out correctly. But yes. Perfect. Yeah, I didn't know if folks have it with them, but if you don't, get one at the table when you leave, and or, like I said, it'll be on the ballot. So with the ranked choice voting contest, there are some considerations that will be made. So if there is a skipped ranking, so meaning the first and the third choices are filled in, but no second choices, everything after that skipped ranking is ignored. If there's an overvote, and that means that if there's an overvote in multiple votes in one column, it invalidates the overvoted rankings, and all the other lower rankings after that will not be counted. If they filled it out properly beforehand for those contests, it will be counted, but it's after the overvote and after. And then duplicate ranking, the candidate is credited with the highest ranking marked. Other rankings for that candidate are ignored. So the City of Boulder does have, and I think you guys are going to be doing some practice as well. Definitely invite you to share that with folks in advance of people getting their ballot. And with this, to go back one slide, I do want to highlight that throughout the elections process, there are bipartisan teams of election judges who are overseeing and actually conducting and implementing the election. So if there are questions when it comes to voter intent, those bipartisan teams of election judges will be making those determinations as to how to adjudicate that ballot. And so they will be leveraging resources on adjudication for ranked choice voting. Okay, so how votes are counted. Yes. So again, Colorado Title I and rule govern how we count votes, including they will have a voter intent guide for our bipartisan teams to use to help determine how to adjudicate those ballots. So big picture, in the first round of tabulation, the first choice rankings are counted for each candidate. And if someone receives over 50% of those votes, then that is the winner. But if no candidate has more than 50% of the votes, then we start going into rounds. And so what happens is if no one receives over 50% of those votes, the candidate with the fewest first choice rankings is eliminated. And then those ballots then have their second choice moved forward and counted. And so what happens is we continue that process until more than 50% of the votes, until someone receives 50% of the votes.
When you say those votes, which votes are you talking about?
I'm sorry?
When you say those votes are moved forward, are you talking about the votes of the people whose candidate is eliminated, or everybody who voted for second choice?
If let's see.
Go back one slide.
Yeah.
Say those ballots that have their second choice.
Yes, if their first choice did not, like if their first choice had the fewest number of votes, then those second choice would get moved forward into the tabulation.
So they get their second choice votes counted before anybody else.
You mean the ballots that are thrown out? You look at this.
Well, we're not going to throw out ballots. I have to pause on that terminology.
Excuse me, the candidate that you throw out, you then look at their second choices and move them forward.
Yes, that's accurate. I want to make sure I'm checking with my team that I'm hearing your question correctly. That is accurate.
And we'll do this for practice also. We'll do this, we'll have a practice election
So for the results, I know this page looks familiar to everyone. We will have a link. So this is our traditional results reports page that everyone knows about. The City of Boulder mayoral contest will be listed on this site. It's going to be a link to where you can go and see the results. And so you just go to our normal bouldercountyvotes.gov, and then for this contest, you'll see a link right there. There's going to be two options for reviewing the results of this contest. Oops. The first choice that you'll have to see the results are is a PDF. The second option that you'll have, which I think more people will be interested in, is a ranked choice voting visualization. And that tool is, we went with this tool because it provides a higher level of transparency and ease of understanding how the votes are calculated and how the votes shift through the rounds of tabulation. And so we wanted to provide that resource and level of transparency and extra engagement to folks that were interested. But there's also going to be just a simple PDF as well available. Okay, audit. So Colorado election rule does require us to audit this contest. And so we have been working very diligently to figure out how to audit this contest. Right now we have for the risk limiting audit a software that the state provides to be able to support counties in auditing. That tool does not currently incorporate ranked choice voting. There is a timeline that the state has to come up with how to incorporate ranked choice voting into that software. That timing is not now. So again, our team has been doing great work in understanding what other jurisdictions do across the country. And we are going to be doing an audit of this contest. Again, open to the public, welcome to come. And we are going to be incorporating current RLA features into this audit as well. And so these are just some examples of what we'll be including. So again, right now we are still determining some of the finer points of how to implement certain aspects of ranked choice voting. One of those is the audit. And so right now we are testing an open source ranked choice voting RLA tool set and ensuring that it is going to meet our standards, and also making sure that, as Elesha said, security is really important to us, so just making sure that it meets our security standards as well. And then we need to update all of our procedures, not only for our staff, but our election judges as well, to do that audit. And we will continue to work with the Secretary of State's office. And the good thing about us going first is that we will be able to have some influence and input into, how the state does this long term for other counties, and provides guidance to other counties for audits. We are currently scheduled for November 20th. I think that's the week before Thanksgiving, so it's always a little hit or miss if people are able to come, but please do come if you can. We'd love to have you there. Okay, resources, and just to kind of wrap up here a little bit, bouldercountyvotes.gov, we do have a web page with lots of ranked choice voting information on there. It includes FAQs, and we will be doing, again, our logic and accuracy test, which ensures the voting system is programmed correctly, tabulating correctly. You're welcome to come to that. We do public tours of our office and ballot processing center, so if you're able to come to one of those tours, you are welcome to do so. Information on our website. And then we will be doing some webinars as well, so if you've got friends or family that are interested in ranked choice voting or anything related to elections, feel free to invite them to those webinars. And all of that will be on our website. And I will make a plug that if you don't have your email address on your voter registration record, I encourage everyone to consider adding that, because we do send periodic emails throughout the election window with key dates and reminders, and also events like these. I think that's it. Please follow us. Please get in touch with us. We want to support and answer any questions that folks have, and want you to feel confident about voting on RCV. And again, this is going to be your best friend this election. This is a card that we made months ago that it includes how to fill out your ballot properly, common errors, and it is in both English and Spanish. So I think I'm done with my portion and happy to take questions.
Thanks, Molly. Lots of information there. I've got a number of questions here I'll go through. Again, if you have additional questions. Yeah, we want to pass them out to Holly. I'm going to start with the first question for you, Elesha. Will there be a mayor pro tem? If yes, how will that person be elected?
Great question. And yes, there will be a mayor pro tem. It was funny that you asked that question because I just worked with our city attorney's office this week to change the procedure on how that mayor pro tem is elected. Because again, that hasn't changed. That mayor pro tem election will still be done through the council, the sitting council members at the first meeting in December, because we changed, of course, the first meeting date of the new council last year on the ballot as well. But that will take place at that first meeting in December after the new council members and the mayor are sworn in. What we're looking at now is how that procedure will work, because it was documented in the council procedures the old way, so we're changing a couple of things with that. But yes, that will still happen with the council electing the mayor pro tem for a 1-year term.
Just to clarify, the mayor pro tem is essentially like the vice mayor or deputy mayor, is that right?
That is correct, and his responsibilities are basically to sit in for the mayor at the meetings and represent the mayor when the mayor is not available.
And apparently we're off camera. So we should...
Apparently we're off camera and we should move over here.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Old
Come
lady
share with
can
me.
still jump up on the stage, yeah.
Okay.
You want this one?
I think this one's working.
I'll stand with my counterpart over here, who I just adore.
All right, I think this one is for Molly. For the mayor's contest, will the ballot data, in other words, all the rankings, be available publicly? If so, when will the ballot data be available? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so Diane, I'm going to phone a friend here. All of the tabulation, it won't be on the results report at the ballot level, but it will be on the CVR? Yeah. Thank you. So we do have a cast vote record, which includes a record of how the voting system tabulated each ballot right now, and so that will also include how we do that for ranked choice voting.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the first results will basically just say who won, but when the cast vote record is available, then you can see all the details.
Yeah, it sounds like the question is around ballot level markings, and that will be available in post-election.
Okay.
Yes, yeah,
Before the-
clarify.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
You want to repeat that?
Yeah, so the unofficial results will include the ballot, like the amount of votes per candidate per round, but if it's a ballot, I think the ballot level detail will come later if someone wants that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many pages will be on the ballot? Will the mayor's contest be on the same page as the council contest? And which one will come first?
Yes, so there's a one-card ballot this year, and so we're very happy about that. That was a question, is if it was going to be its own separate card. We are able to have it on its own card, and it will be the first contest. Well, I don't think it's the first contest on the ballot because we have statewide measures, but it'll be before city council.
Mayor comes before council. Yeah. Okay. I think this is maybe to both of you, but I think particularly Molly. How much extra will the Boulder's mayoral race cost?
So the way that costs are allocated is outlined in the bill that was passed in 2021. So one of the biggest costs is the license for the software. And so the way that it was written was you share the cost of the license with anybody else also conducting an election. So unfortunately, because Broomfield decided not to do it last minute, the City of Boulder will be responsible for that cost. It's about $80,000. And then other direct costs include things like the mailings and some staff direct work on the content or on this election. So Right now, it's approximately 140 to 150,000, but that number will likely grow as we continue to incur direct costs to implement the election. But that's very loose estimate.
That's good, Elesha.
And if I may just say, we anticipated these costs last year with the City of Boulder's budget. So we did put in a budget increase for about $225,000 to cover the ranked choice voting election. And that included all the additional cost estimates that we had obtained from the county in the outreach, publication of documentation that we're presenting here tonight, and just to cover any other last minute things that may come up. So we do have that in our current budget, and it was planned for.
We're dealing with professionals here, people. Okay. This one's more complicated. The rules for instant runoff voting vary, and Alameda, California got the wrong result in 2022 and noticed and corrected months later when others got the cast vote records detailing the ballots. That's the detailed thing that Molly was talking about a minute ago. Will Boulder release the cast vote records so the public can check the results and verify the audit? I mean, you've answered that question. But.
Yeah, the cast vote record is publicly available, yes.
Okay. Do you have a sense of when?
It typically end of November, I think, is when we release the cast vote record, yeah, and when it's ready.
Okay.
It's before the risk limiting audit because we use that.
If a candidate gets over 50% of the votes from the transferred votes at the end of round one, will any other votes be counted, or is that the end? I think this is following up from here. I think I understand the question. Do you understand the question?
I do.
Yeah.
I've had it asked several times.
Yeah.
You want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think where the confusion is with this is if there is a candidate that clearly has the 50% in round one, keep in mind the rounds start at the end of the previous round, okay? So if someone gets 50% in the first round, they're clearly the winner. Now, if there is someone that gets 48%, well, they're not the winner. And then whoever gets is the fourth person with the lowest votes, they get eliminated. We start all over again. We don't start counting everyone else's votes again. We only count those sections of votes that were their candidate was eliminated. So say it's 25 votes, right? Those 25 votes will then go to their second choice. And then we start the second round. But votes are not counted twice. But,
right.
But you're talking about the first round or the second round?
At the end of the first round, the last place voter gets eliminated his votes, then those ballots get their second place votes tabulated.
In the second round?
No, yes, the second round. But it says.
I was on the phone.
Let me just turn it off.
Okay, this is Hello. Okay, Rules 2653A says if, after receiving the transferred votes, and those are the votes from the losing candidate, a continuing candidate receives over 50% of the votes cast on the active ballots, that candidate is the winning candidate and no further rounds will take place. So in other words, if there were 25 votes for the last place candidate, and when those transfers occur, if those votes happen to decide the election, that would be the end of the counting. And nobody else's second place votes would be counted.
But that's
Is that correct or not?
So the way to think about it, if I may, because I think, this is why we're doing a mock election afterwards, because I think it'll become a lot clearer that. But this is why we like the term instant runoff. Because if you think about a classic runoff election, you have an election for X number of candidates, and then the top two, top three, whatever, continue to the runoff. So what we're doing here by counting the person that was the first person, the second choice for the first person it's in essence a runoff. The people who already had their first voice counted, they've already got a vote counted. That person that was eliminated, those people never had a vote counted. So
Well,
now
wait a
their
minute.
second choices are counted.
If I vote for the last place candidate, my vote is counted.
As your
But I
first
just happened to
choice.
vote
It's
for the
counted.
last place candidate. So
It's-
in this system, I get to vote twice.
But only one of your votes counts.
Well, no, I voted for the last place candidate. That was counted. It was tabulated.
And they were eliminated.
But that's tough. That's just, I voted for the last place candidate. Now, all the votes, all the 25 of us who voted for that oddball candidate, we get our votes, our second place votes counted, and that could decide the election without anybody else's votes being counted.
No, everybody's votes were counted.
Yeah, but if you read the rule, it says the transferred votes are from the losing candidate. They get tabulated. After those votes are tabulated, if any candidate gets more than 50%, they're the winning candidate, and that's the end of the count.
That is correct. That's the way it works. Stick around for the mock election. I think it'll make more sense. I think we need
Okay,
to
but
move
the
on.
odds of this happening in the mock election are very small.
I just want to just say real quick that the first round, the only votes that are counted are your first choices. Period. Exactly. So if your first choice was eliminated, that's why your second choice is being counted. But because your first choice was eliminated. We don't count all the second choices the second round.
I'm sorry, we need to move on.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
I mean, I think it'll be much clearer as we actually walk through a process. All right. Why isn't Broomfield using RCV?
I don't think they had enough candidates, is that right?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's only 2 candidates, so there's no point.
They can't.
Yeah, it's, I mean, if your first
3 or
choice is
more.
your choice.
3 or more.
Which section, I think this is related to what we were just talking about. Which section of the rules defines that skipped ranking terminates all further rank counts for that ballot?
26.7, yeah.
Secretary of State Rules 26.7. Thank you, Diane.
I don't have it.
It's online at the Secretary of State's website. I've read it, the entire thing.
Will the election judges do a hand tabulation for testing the software or for auditing?
So again, please come to the logic and accuracy test. The judges go through a process where they do hand mark ballots, and then they fill out an associated manual verification worksheet, and then they run those ballots that they hand marked through the scanning equipment and compare it to what they, their manual verification worksheet is what we call it, which compares how they hand mark those ballots to the way that the voting system read those ballots. And so that's how we ensure that the voting system is tabulating properly. And Diane, would you like to add anything to that? Okay.
Why does a bipartisan team oversee nonpartisan elections?
That's a question. If you want to change that, take it to the state legislature. That's that we're following the rules of Title I and election rule. But I will say, personally, I think it's really important that we have Republicans and Democrats in these roles, because I like the idea of having 2 people that, have no reason to really agree with each other on these decisions, making these determinations. So I know that there's a lot of, sorry, I don't mean to get on a personal soapbox around this, but, I think that's an important part of the process. And there is a role, I know our county and our state is heavily unaffiliated, and there's a lot of desire for more participation for unaffiliated. And there are roles in our process for unaffiliated folks, just not in some of these determination decisions.
Where and when will pre-election ballot and equipment testing take place?
At our office, and again, the dates, key dates will be on our website, and again, you can sign up on our, add an email address to your record, but October 10th through the 13th, and again, we don't expect it to take 3 days, but it might just with the change of RCV. So feel free to let us know you're coming so we can plan for spacing, would be really helpful.
We're coming.
Okay, I think this is the last one. There is a petition circulating that seeks to improve election security by replacing all remote ballot boxes. Is there really a problem with remote ballot boxes? Or is the petition a tempest in a teapot? This is maybe a bit more editorial than we should get into, but if you want to answer it, be my guest.
I would say that we follow Title I in election rule when it comes to conducting elections, and I believe our drop boxes to be in compliance with those requirements. And if there are additional requirements that folks want to see, again, invite you to take those to the state legislature.
Okay, there's one more. This one's pretty straightforward. Can people vote for only one candidate in our RCV? Is there a minimum?
You can vote for one if you want, or you can vote for you can vote for as many or as few as you want. I would just say follow the instructions on the screen card to make sure that you don't inadvertently, not follow the instructions and not have your vote count in the way that you wanted to, but you can vote for just one if you want.
Let's clarify, you only get one vote in instant runoff voting, RCV, but you can rank multiple candidates, but you only get one vote. And your question earlier about the vote moving, the vote can move from one candidate to another, but at any point in time you have only one vote. That's different for the council election. You get to vote for up to 4 candidates in the council election, but you only get one vote in instant runoff voting. You get 4 rankings, up to 4 rankings.
Yeah, thank you.
That's the way the rankings work, is that only one vote ultimately gets counted. It may not be your first choice, it may not be your second choice, but your vote does get counted.
And it's hard to say it right. I mean, I will probably say first choice vote, and I'm supposed to say first choice ranking, but bear with us, be patient.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did not ask it, so I will ask it now. I have Rule 26, but I don't have the statute. Rule 26 does not. I don't need it. Rule 26 says... Rule 26 does not say that you go to the last candidate. It just leaves those votes. It doesn't say last candidate's second. And when you were speaking here, you said, yeah, we go to the first candidate, we take their second. What I'm saying is you just made a mistake. I want to know where it says it. I want to know legally where I can go, either the statute or here, and it tells me how you do ranked voting. And it don't do any so's. It doesn't say it in 26. If you can show it in 26, read it, but you can't. That's all I'm asking. I want to know which one. Is it in the statute or is it in the rule?
No, I would not, no.
Okay.
No.
Try and address this?
Sir, I'm happy to talk to you later. I'm happy to look over Rule 26 with you. At the end, okay.
I want to know
Do you want to go ahead and introduce me?
what they're saying isn't in Rule 26. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm sorry, we're going to have to shut this down.
They didn't read my card. I knew they wouldn't read it, and they didn't.
I did. It said which section of the rules defines the skip ranking, terminate all further rank counts for that ballot. They said 26 dot something.
No, I wrote one that said it doesn't say 26.
All right, we need to move on. We're not going to rewrite the laws right here. But I think you will find it very helpful to go through this exercise of how an election might actually work. So hopefully you all got your little blue ballots. So please pass those in. And meanwhile, I will introduce Celeste Landry, who has been a member of the Boulder County League of Women Voters for more than 2 decades. She's a founding member of the Voting Methods team and has presented widely to local, state, and national audiences on a variety of voting methods. She's testified at various levels, and she will be walking us through the mock election.
Thank you. So I have testified on Rule 26 and suggested changes, and that's a great venue. That's a great venue for expressing your opinions, and I've heard many people expressing opinions about the Secretary of State rules. Okay, we're going to do an election. You have your instant runoff voting ballot. I hope it's blue. We have it in English and in Spanish. We basically copied the one from the city clerk's website. The city clerk has 5 candidates on their ballot. We have 4 because we only have 4 mayoral candidates, so we only put 4 on our practice one. I need some election counters and observers. So, Mark, do you want to pick them? Raise your hand if you would be interested. Is that?
Come on up.
Only women, but men are welcome too. Okay, I think we have 3 people who are here, is that right? So I need 2 people to, are you 3 the 3? Okay. As soon as we get the ballots, we need to start looking only at which choice, everybody? The first choice. And we have here some name tents on the stage. And you look at them and you put in front of the name that goes with the first choice, you put the ballot, okay? We're going to have 2 different people count each pile. And you can start putting them in piles. This is going to take a little while, so let's start putting them in piles right now. We need teams for counting, but for right now, just put them in the proper stack. You can see here on the easel, we have the 4 candidates listed, and then we have 2 other categories, invalid. Do you remember what might cause an invalid ballot right off the bat? Two rankings for first choice. If you have 2 rankings for your two candidates ranked number 1, that would be a problem. Okay. And then inactive ballots, we'll talk about that, but we don't have that in the first round. That only happens if somebody marks a first choice, the first choice is eliminated, and they do not mark a second choice. Then, or they mark a second choice and the second choice is eliminated and they don't have a third choice. So I just was handed a ballot which has cycling as the first choice. Great, cycling will count for your first choice. But then if cycling is eliminated, guess what they put for their second choice? Cycling. So it will not get counted in the second round, but it will get counted in the first round. So let the counting begin. Oh, we already have an invalid ballot. Would somebody pass it to?
Double check this. So it was none of the above, abstain. So there was basically no vote.
Okay. So it's a blank.
It's a blank.
It's a blank ballot, and we're actually, the county clerk has to count those, but we're not going to count it because it just is going to add mess. This is supposed to be a little bit simplified, Neil. Okay, so here's what we have. We're going to report the instant runoff voting results. I need two people counting each pile, and then when you get the results, please report them to me. While we're doing this, Martine, would you grab the microphone? While we're doing this, does anybody have any comments on how it felt to vote this different ballot to be able to rank? No, would you ask if anybody raises their hand? Would anybody like to talk about their personal feeling on this? You know, I personally, go ahead.
No, I enjoyed it, but I wanted to do a write-in, so I wrote in swimming and made that my fourth choice, and I'm wondering what you're going to do with that.
So you wanted a write-in.
Yes, so I wrote in
Okay.
swimming and made that my fourth choice.
So in some elections, write-ins are allowed. For municipal elections, write-ins are not allowed. Correct, Makala? Yes. Yes. So in Cambridge, Massachusetts, they have the proportional form of RCV, and they elect 9 candidates for city council, and they have 9 write-in slots. So you can write in more. Okay. Did the bipartisan team agree on cycling?
Yes, we agreed on 11.
11 for cycling,
And 3 for running.
3 for running.
Not a running crowd.
Where did the...
Skiing, we got 4. And
4 for skiing,
hiking, this is a hiking team.
and
We might not even go in the second round, we might just go into hiking.
19 for hiking.
Did we have some ballots up?
Well, this is an interesting one because they wrote in their fourth choice. Is that okay? They wrote in swimming.
Oh, somebody wrote in for fourth choice swimming, so that only would count if the first 3 choices got sequentially eliminated, and we're going to talk about that. And it only would count if Boulder allowed write-ins. So,
Is that in addition to this?
No, it's part of this. Okay.
so this happens a lot. We have 11, 3, 4, and 19. Let's add that up. So that's 37. 37 is the total. That's 100%. Right, because we don't have any. 38. Did I get it wrong? No, you're right. 37. He wants the invalid one counted. Oh, that's so interesting. Should we count the one as invalid? Let's do that. Because. What, did anybody get a majority?
Not now.
Okay. We have 100% is 38, and what is 19 out of 38? 50%. Did we get a majority? No. So we're going to go to the instant runoff because we're counting the invalid one. I think that the city clerk or the county clerk might not count that invalid one, and they would get a majority. But we're moving on. Okay. So would you do the calculation for 11 out of 38 and all those? Okay. So now we have to look at the lowest vote getter. Which one is the lowest vote getter? Running. So how many running ballots do we have? 3. We're going to look at them, and I want you to read them out loud, the second choice, and I want your partner there to verify, and go ahead and move them to the next category.
Second choice is cycling, and...
Second choice, cycling for one of them.
For all 3.
Oh, for all 3. Wow, we have a running cycling crowd here. Okay. So if you add 11 and 3, you get 14. The X means eliminated. We should try to write them a little darker, maybe. Okay.
All right, here's a question. If those 3 votes, if their second place choice had actually been hiking, they would have pushed hiking over the top.
you can call those 3 votes the kingmakers for, sort of, but only in the second round. Like, if hiking didn't have 19 votes to start, then the 3 extra votes might not have helped.
I understand it, but what I'm saying is that if I'm interpreting the rule correctly,
Yeah.
the 3 votes for running, if instead of going to cycling, they had gone to
Correct.
hiking, would have gotten over 50%, and that would be the end of the
Correct. Correct.
And nobody else's second place vote would count.
Most people's second place rank will not show up, and we'll talk about that. Right now, how many second place ranks, how many voters have their second place rank counted so far?
3.
Just 3. Let's see what happens in the next round.
And did their first vote, and did their first choice count? Did their first choice count? Their first choice did not count. Those 3 votes that we counted as second choice, their first choice did not count. They only got 1 vote.
It counted in the first round. It counted in the first round. It's like 2 elections. So there was an election. There were 4. Can I finish? There were 4 candidates in the first election, and we eliminate the lowest vote getter, and then we hold another election. But instead of telling can I finish, please? Instead of, I should stand where the camera can see me. Instead of asking everybody to show up at the polling location again or to mail in a ballot, we just used the ballots that they started with, and now we have 3 candidates: cycling, skiing, and hiking. And so the people who voted for running, it's like everybody goes to the polling place again, but now running is not a candidate. So those 3 people who voted for running, their second choice, if running is not on the ballot, is cycling. So they're in the second election, and now we still don't have a majority, or we don't have. If they had gone to hiking. We're moving on to the 3rd round, and you can see what happens. So we have the 3rd round here. Which candidate is the lowest candidate here? Skiing. Skiing is the lowest candidate. Do you want to give him the mic?
Total in the first tabulation, right? There are 38 votes in the second tabulation. Nobody voted twice. See, that's what you look at. You're saying the second choice.
Counted.
No. They all got counted. They all got counted.
If they,
19, what?
all right, never mind.
Right. If you put.
Okay, we're going to the 3rd round because nobody has 50% yet. So we drop the lowest vote getter again, and this time the lowest vote getter is skiing. So we're going to look at the skiing ballots, and we know that we only have to look at the second choice. It didn't go running first choice, skiing second, and now we go to the 3rd. No, everybody's, okay, so what do we get? Second choice. If it's, tell us, read it out loud.
Okay, cycling, hiking, and hiking.
Okay, so cycling got 1 more for a total of 15. Hiking got 3 more for a total of 22. And that means that hiking has more than half of the votes, and hiking is declared the winner. Okay, that was interesting. I'm glad we counted the invalid vote. I'm not sure the city will do that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of your observations. This was different than plurality. plurality, the person who voted for running, what would have happened to their vote? Roving microphone? What in plurality, if you had voted for running, what would have happened? It counts. You would count as 3, but then you can't help anybody else win. Your candidate has no hope. This is what happens with third-party candidates, right? People don't want to vote for a third-party candidate because they feel like their vote's not going to go anywhere. If running as a third-party candidate that's not likely to win, you feel safer voting for it because if nobody gets a majority, you can then get your vote going to your second choice if your candidate is eliminated, okay? So a lot of times, it's the exact same as our regular voting method, and somebody wins on the first round. Who knows? That may happen in Boulder. I don't know. The people who are counting ballots, did you happen to notice, did people rank all 4? Did everybody got their first choice counted, at least in the first round? In the second round, some people got their first choice counted, some people got their second choice counted. In the third round, it was also first or second, but it might have been, you might have gotten your third choice counted if the first 2 had been running and then skiing, then your third choice could have counted. What about your fourth choice? Did nobody would, yes?
Well, I was just going to say, isn't it, what I really appreciate is the handout on the Alaska race, because I think it relates to some of the frustrations that some people have, that in the Alaska race, people's second choices were not counted in ways that a lot of people believe caused the election to end up with the wrong result. The wrong person was eliminated first in this analysis, which I agree with. This issue of do you count all the second place votes is very important to me. It's very important to me that we see it during the first day of results. And I would like to see the cast vote records on the first day and the second day and as they go, because I think it's very important for the public to know all of how people express their opinions, not just what is revealed by the algorithm.
So our voting methods team wrote an article about the interesting results in the Alaska election. And one of the things we say in the article is that it might not have worked perfectly, but it was probably better than plurality. So feel free to take a copy of that article and read it and come ask us questions afterwards. We're hoping for a successful election because we have high hopes for better voting methods. So anything you can do to help people to understand this would be great. Some people, like one person said she wrote a write-in. If you don't like some of these, like maybe you're not a runner or a skier, you don't have to rank them, right? There's no requirement to rank any of them. One of the things about ranking is you have to know the candidates in order to rank them in an informed manner, right? But everybody knows what we're talking about. Mayoral candidates, that's some homework. So there is a little bit of extra expectation on the voter to be more informed. But you don't have to be. You can still just vote for your one choice, mark them first, and you're done. You still have a valid ballot, certainly in the first round. Okay, how many rounds of tabulation did we have when we added in the invalid one? 3. Okay, every round you eliminate one candidate. So what happens to, will you ever count your fourth choice? No. Your fourth choice will never get counted. Why is it on there? I think it's on there to make people feel like they can rank them, but it's not actually necessary. And I talked to the Secretary of State and said, you don't need to you don't need to worry about the last ranking. So they might make it, they might change the rules a little bit to help give the county clerks a little less work. And we saw that some of the ballots went to the lower preferences, but how many ballots went to a lower preference? 3 plus 4, 7 ballots went to the lower preference. That's not very many. So most people just had their first choice counted. That's it. And that will happen most of the time. Okay? If you have lots and lots of candidates, it's less likely to happen. But with only 4 candidates, probably your first or second choice will get counted. Probably your first will get counted. They may not win. They may end up being one of the 2 finalists, but that's how it works. And then you saw the results. In the first round, everybody got votes. In the second round, somebody was eliminated. In the third round, we had 2 candidates that were eliminated. So here are some considerations. Your number 1 ranking is, as you can see, is the only one that's guaranteed to be counted. Everybody but 7 of the voters had their number 1 ranking count. And here's what the ballot actually looks like to the counters. They only look at the first choice. Thank you, counters, by the way. You did a great job. When we did a practice, we messed it up. Yes?
So Celeste, are you saying that I think there are 4 people running for mayor?
Yes. 4 people running for mayor.
That it doesn't make sense to vote for more than the 3 and not
Only,
worry about a
you only
4th?
need to rank 3 because the 4th one is a default. You're not allowed a write-in, so the 4th one is, whichever one's left over is automatically 4th. And that's actually the next point. If there are 4 candidates and 4 possible rankings, your 4th ranking will never be counted.
So why bother doing it?
You don't have to. Neil?
It would change the tally at the end. It would be an actual tally that said someone was willing to vote for that
It would change the
candidate.
cast vote records. It won't change a tally at all.
The number of votes counted in that final round would not.
It doesn't change the tally. It only changes what the cast vote record, what the ballot data says. It does not change the count at all. Yes?
So at the end of the second round, skiing was the last place candidate. Oh, thanks. So skiing was the last place candidate. Where did those 4 votes go? I'm not.
One, you probably can't see because
I can't see it.
It says 15 for cycling and 22 for hiking. So
Did that put hiking over the top?
yes, it did.
And did you stop counting at that point?
Yes.
Okay, so
And if there are 4 candidates, the most number of rounds you'll have is 3. If there are 2
but the people who
candidates, you only
voted
have
for
1 round, right?
the people who voted for hiking as their second choice, which came in last, they decided the election. Nobody else's third place candidate got counted. Why is this so
I'm a little
difficult
confused.
to understand? No, but the people who voted for the last place candidate,
So can we go back to this point right here?
they decided the election.
This number 1 ranking is the most important one. It's the only one guaranteed to be counted. And the fact that hiking got 19, that's what put them over the top with a little bit of extra. But nobody ever caught up to hiking. So the first choice is the most important.
Yeah, great. But what if the other people in their third, what if the people for the skiing, they put hiking over the top, but what if everybody else, their third votes, their third rank was cycling? And cycling, if all the third choices had been counted, cycling would have won.
So
but because only
we're not,
those that,
if you want a voting method that counts all of your choices,
this is so
sir,
weird.
if you want a voting method that counts all of your choices, you want approval voting. Okay?
No. I just want everybody's everybody. If you're gonna, if at the end of a round,
No. These are
everybody
not,
should get their
you
next
only
round
get
turn.
1 vote. You can rank up to 4, but you only get 1 vote. If you want multiple votes, you are a fan of approval voting. And that's a different talk, and we'd be happy to do that with you. Okay, here's a lesson that we really want to stress. Rank as many candidates as you feel comfortable ranking. If you don't rank multiple candidates, then you lose out on your voice in the runoff. So remember we had that one ballot that had cycling first, cycling second, cycling third. If cycling had been eliminated, that person would not have had a voice in the next round. So make sure you rank your ballot correctly. You are totally within your rights to only rank 1, but it's better if you have more preferences to rank them so that you can have a voice in the next rounds. So running and skiing voters, they had a voice in later rounds because they put something lower on their ranking. Okay, I'm getting the hook here, I think. So let's do really quickly. There's the Boulder Council and mayoral contests, as we've mentioned, are connected. This is kind of unique for Boulder. And the question is, how might you vote differently when you know that, first of all, Boulder has a weak mayor. We've never elected it before, but it's a weak mayor. They serve for 2 years, except this time they're going to serve for 3. Sorry about that. If a continuing council member loses the mayoral election, that person stays on council for 2 years. And if the continuing council member is elected, then we get this weird thing that Clerk Johnson talked about, where 5 people will be elected, but you get to vote for a maximum of 4. Really quickly, we mentioned that Broomfield is not going to be using instant runoff voting. That's why it's crossed off. We have had a couple of instant runoff voting elections in Colorado, but they've been done by hand. And the thing we like to tell people, which is true, is that the City of Boulder used proportional RCV for 3 winter contests from 1917 to 1947. And Cambridge, Massachusetts has used the proportional form since 1941. Albany, California just adopted it and used it. Portland, Oregon is going to be using it. I would love to see a lot more places using it. And I can say that because I'm not the clerk's office. We have some positions on these. We've already talked a lot about proportional representation. We would love to see proportional representation for council. We have a very interesting article back there that Mark was one of the co-authors on about how we would like to see council results reported. And we'll probably do another graph of that after this election. And then this one, signature requirements for recalls and citizens initiatives. This is important because as we move to even year elections, the number of signatures required for a recall or a citizens initiative is a percentage of the people who voted. So the number of ballots that are returned will go up in a presidential year or one of the even midterm years. And so the number of signatures is also going to go up. So we really are putting the city clerk's feet to the fire and the city council's feet to the fire to fix the signature requirements so it's not so hard to recall people. Basically, we want it to be possible to recall people. If the number's too high, we won't be able to recall anybody. Not that we necessarily want to, but and also we want to be able to have citizens initiatives because we believe in that option. Here are some forums for the City of Boulder.
So thank you all for coming. As you can see on this calendar, you can go to a League of Women Voters event almost every day of the week and become educated on the ballot measures, the school board, the mayor, the council, et cetera. So we welcome you to do that. And just to close, we thank you for attending. We hope this was educational. We league people, I think they're going to kick us out of the building, but we league people are happy to stick around and chat if you like. And you can find out more information at our website. Thank you very much.